excellent start for this panel. Suresh, can we go with you next? Do you want?
Good evening, everybody. Professor Prabhu Pingali, my fellow panelist, senior colleagues from the profession, colleagues and friends. First of all, let me thank the organizers for inviting me to share some of my thought. At the same time, let me also confess that I am not expert on nutrition. I am basically agriculture economist working in the area of agriculture development. So what I'm going to share with you is basically how the agriculture sector has performed recently, what are the trends we can expect, and how these trends maybe relates to with the food security and nutrition issues. So coming with the agriculture performance, if you look at the long-term growth pattern basically, since the Green Revolution and then after that and now after the 2000. So the growth we have received, which we have seen in the agriculture sector during the last 12 or 14 years, that is close to 4%. That is pretty high than what we have achieved during the Green Revolution. And after that, when the Green Revolution was spreading to other areas, particularly Eastern India, where the growth has come. So this is a very significant, I would say, the achievement that we have achieved a growth rate in agriculture sector which was never achieved earlier. And there are reasons for that. If you look at the specifically in terms of the, let's say, the food grain production, 13-14, we witnessed the highest production of food grains, 265 million tons. And despite 3 consecutive, I would say, the bad crop years, basically crop seasons, Kharif last year, the last Kharif, and the Rabi, so the weather was not that favorable, but still we are comfortable in terms of the food grain production. And what the ministry is now contemplating, that again this year, because there is a normal monsoon, so they are going to expect again a record harvest. The estimates are somewhere close to 270 million tons. So that itself speaks the unprecedented growth we are seeing in the agriculture sectors. There are, besides this, let's say, the growth numbers, there are other positive development in the what we see in agriculture sectors, and most important among them is this growth is coming from those states where productivity used to be low basically. Some of them we call them, Bimaru state, but some states they have a strong objection that we are not part of that particular group because the productivity level is pretty high in that. And what we generally see, there is a strong convergence in the productivity, you look at it among the different states. So that is again a very, very, I would say, the positive developments. So what are the factors which basically contributed to this impressive growth performance in agriculture sector? So first is, of course, you just see, because all of we are mostly professional economists, we have seen the significant increase in the public investment in agriculture starting maybe somewhere 2005 or so. It was basically a lot of investment again. It's accelerated because earlier the growth performance was not that high, and there was some kind of feeling at some stage, they say complacency that we can manage a good economic growth even the agriculture sector is not doing well. But soon they realize that unless the agriculture sector is doing well, so rest of the economy will not be that well. So that basically made some kind of corrections, that the acceleration of public investment in agriculture, that continued for some time. And at the same time, not only the investment, the expenditure on other input supplies, all those things, Services, that also was stepped up. So that was one of the regions in these states where the productivity was low. So there was a significant increase. Second important thing which is coming up basically in all these states, and that we can just see in the low productivity state, what we call the Bimaru states, the use of modern input, particularly if you look at the use of seed replacement is, increasing pretty at a high rate. Basically, seed replacement rate is very high, and that is, and associated inputs, they are also going along with the improved seed or quality seed. So that is also contributing to the productivity growth. But at the same time, we should not ignore the importance of basically price incentives. Dr. Gulati is here. I can just correct, when there was international, increase in the international prices, so the lot of, support came from the government to provide the price incentive to the farmers, and particularly through MSPs, we have seen significant increase for most of the commodities. So all these factors, and at the same time, we can say there is a lot of improvement in the governance and the grassroots level, state level. So all these factors are contributing to this growth performance in agriculture sectors, and all signs points that this growth will be sustained if we have a better delivery of, let's say, the input and associated other factors, and the, of course, technologies that is happening. So that is the first what a significant change we have in agriculture sector. Second thing which is happening, that rate has accelerated, that is basically what we are discussing today now. It's basically diversification. We see the high growth sectors, mostly the horticulture sectors and the livestock sectors. So their growth is pretty high. And if we all know that their share is more than now 50%, maybe latest data indicates that they are contributing close to 60%. So one of the good thing is that in these areas where the growth has come, it's basically growth is demand driven, it's basically market. It's not the direct support which is coming contributing to growth, but there are incentives, markets, there is demand. So therefore, all the resources they were provided, and that helped in contributing to the growth in these sectors. Livestock particularly, there are a number of changes which has taken place. Of course, let's say in case of poultry, improved breeds. There are all kinds of, let's say, better institutional arrangements where these linkages with the markets, they were established. Horticulture sectors. Horticulture is another area. Of course, fruits, we can say some of the fruits we have the traditional varieties, but they are also productivity is increasing. But if you look at these vegetables and other horticulture products, so there again a lot of things, technology, associated seed, improved seed, may be developed by the, let's say, our own institutions as well as from outside, so which have significant increase, significant higher level of productivity. So that has really contributed. So it's basically the demand driven which has made the difference, but they were at the same time the resources program provided by the government. So the farmers, they have responded to these demand changes. But you can just see it's basically markets, not something the price support which we see in case of rice or maybe wheat or maybe other commodities. So it's not there in these areas except livestock where we have the interventions by the NDDB, and then we have some kind of cooperative structure. But here it is basically driven by the market. It's not the role of price, but still you can say there are new problems in these particular sectors which are now happening, and that is more important, we can say, besides other risk which we have in horticulture crops. Now we see the market risk, price risk. There are lots of fluctuations, ups and down, and that is really not only pinching to the farmers because they see a lot of fluctuation in their income, but we see the other implications, serious political implications of these changes in these prices. So therefore, it is very important that we have to look for, let's say, the price support system in some way that has to be really market based, because we cannot have those kind of intervention which we have for rice and wheat at that large scale. So therefore, some market based operations or some market based interventions have to be thought of in some commodities. I think it was tried what they call the price support scheme, where some public agencies they are asked to intervene in the market, but that is on a very, very limited scale. It has to be upscale if we need to take the price risk in these particular areas. Another important factor, in fact, in these areas, how these will grow, that is related with the what we say promotion of the value chain, processing, agro-processing, value addition, all those kinds of things. And here, in this particular sector, it's basically when we talk about the processing of these perishables, fruits, vegetable. So there are three things related. One is the technology. We need to have a technology which used for processing of these products. Second, we need to have the investment. And third, if it is related, because some of these technology already there in the other countries, so therefore foreign direct investment that become very extremely important. And therefore, rightly, the government has taken decision to allow in FDI in this particular sector. So it is expected that investment will come as well as it will come with the technology, and that will contribute to the further, value addition and maybe sharing of that additional value with the farmers. But we need to have the institutional arrangement so that what we call the smallholders, how they are able to participate in this value chain. Either they are able to participate as a supplier, or they are able to participate as workers, or maybe providing services or something else that has to be. Another significant thing in this particular area, because this FDI or maybe investment from the, let's say, particularly the multinationals of the overseas, it's not going to come directly. So there are different phases in which these changes take place. This we have seen in all other sectors, and similar kind of things will going to happen in these particular sectors. One is these things start at a very small scale, maybe sometime household or maybe little at a larger scale, and then we have some kind of organized attempt by the small corporate or maybe private sectors. And once you have the established, these kind of, let's say, the arrangements, then comes the larger, investment from really big players, so that they are able to already have something, a product established, brand name established, and we have the other arrangements which are able to support the value chain, all those things. So therefore, now the requirement is that whether in some way we have to promote these kind of, let's say, participation of the formal institution, so that there is again larger participation from the international, the companies or those who are really larger players, and they have technologies. And this we have example in our country. Let's say, for example, we can see in case of potato. Potato, it was just basically the household where processing was done. But at a later stage, there was some private sector, some organized sector started, and now we have the major player internationally. They have not only better varieties, they have contractual arrangement with the farmers, and they have the processing technologies. So these things, they are taking place. They are taking place in other sectors also. For example, at least planting material we can just see in banana. So a lot of the other arrangements, they are coming up, how the improved planting material being multiplied, it's being distributed, it is reaching to the farmers. So all number of those kind of arrangements, input side as well as market side and processing sides, that has to take place. So that is the another major area which we expect to major contributions to a diversification as well as improving the nutrition. Now coming to the role of this price policies, basically, we have examples, basically established these price support mechanisms for rice, wheat, maybe now we have for pulses also. And it has own its, you can say, whatever the limitations, you can say concentrated in procurement in few states, all those things, not allowing private sector to commit. But it has its own advantages, basically improving the access that is there. So therefore, the need for these kind of interventions in case of rice and wheat, it will continue. If it is not there, that's number one, or we are not exporting, particularly in case of, let's say, rice. So domestic prices, they are going to be really low. So therefore, now it's not only these government interventions, but we have to look at the trade policies, which are becoming very, very important. And that is not important only for, let's say, this rice, but it is for, let's say, even sugar, and it is there for even the oil seeds, basically. So there we can just have a regime, a balance of all these interventions, so that at least there are incentive for the farmers to produce enough and making available. But now the focus of the government, as we all know, is on increasing the production of pulses and edible oils. And this is because there is a significant increase in the prices of pulses. That is the major attention. But if you just see, you can say there is significant, very, very high rate of increase in the prices of pulses. But if you just see total, let's say how much really we spend on an average on primary food articles, it's not that high. So sometimes we are basically exaggerating that is because of price rise, this pressure, that pressure. So it's not, that, but of course we cannot deny that there is shortage of pulses and prices, they are increasing. Another thing which is happening in the rural areas, basically rural wages, they are increasing very fast. Last year they were a bit slow, but earlier the rate of growth in rural wages is really high. So it means they have more income, they're requiring definitely more, let's say, food, at least those who are poor people, maybe pulses, vegetables, all those things. So there will be a demand from a higher demand from the rural sectors, and therefore the government has to take cognizance of that. But coming to the pulses, definitely it's a major problem. We are importing close to now 4 million tons of pulses, and since we are the largest producer consumer, so in terms of the availability in the international market is really a problem. But the government this time, there is significant price incentives they have given. This is unprecedented. 400, besides MSP, 425 rupees bonus for pulses and 100 rupees for oilseed kharifs. For Rabi also, we have submitted a report, so I'm not going to say what is suggested, but certainly a better price regime for the pulses, it is suggested. For oilseed also, but for oilseed, we have to look at basically our trade policy, because the prices, edible oil prices, they are so low. Naturally, groundnut, what Dr. Gulati has been mentioning, this groundnut, even rapeseed mustards, this grain-based edible oils, basically they will not be able to compete. In terms of the scheme, there are a number of other schemes we have announced by the government. One is this PM, Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. So in terms of the coverage, in terms of scope, in terms of risk covered, so there is significant, improvement there. So it is basically operational aspects, how they are going to basically settle the claims and calculation of all those things. How much, let's say the risk covered. So at that level, so this is expected that it will have a major impact. But another major change which I see in the government scheme, we have there this food security mission, all those things going on, but difficult to see any tangible impact right now. But this is another major scheme on irrigation, that is Prime Minister's Krishi Sinchai Yojana. So good thing about this, that this is one scheme, integrated scheme. It talks about the major projects, medium project, distribution of water, water harvesting, watershed. So hopefully, if let's say the investment accelerate in this particular area, and there is supporting from the users in terms of improving the water use efficiency, at least we need to double this. So certainly, we are going to see a major impact in terms of higher productivity, and some of this impact will be in the areas where these other, you can say, the high productivity or those crops are there. So lastly, let me just say, if we just talk about the diversification, often we compare with the rice, wheat, price regime and other things with other crops where we want to shift. But there are limits to basically that kind of diversification. So only some areas where productivity, let's say in rice and wheat is low, so there is a possibility other crops can compete. But you cannot say that, let's say, some pulse, it will compete with a major kharif, because rice is grown in those areas where only rice can be grown. So there are limits to this diversification, but we can have a kind of, let's say, the plan where diversification can take place, and what are the, let's say, the crops where the area will be shifting, and which are the crops where we need to increase the area. So with this, again, I thank the organizer for giving me this opportunity and sharing my thoughts. Thank you very much.